Hey everybody, Jay Barino here. I am waiting for some missions of Invicta to get updated, and then I will start that campaign. But in the meantime, on my StarCraft 2 days, I've got some Direct Strike videos for you. This is the first one I'm actually recording, and I'll say win or lose, I'll put them up. Maybe play 2 or 3 games, depending on how long they go. This is going to be the 3v3 Commanders mode, which is my favorite, because there's just so many different ones to play. And I do play random every time. So, Direct Strike is laid back, it's casual, I find it relaxing and fun, I enjoy it. So, if you're not into it, that's cool, but we'll see if we can win a couple here. Now, because it is a team match, you know, I may be responsible for losing because of a bad matchup or poor reactions by me in terms of counters and such. You can see it's my first game of the day because it's taking me a while to finish uploading here. You know, some commanders get stomped by others no matter what they do. Some just don't have an answer to certain compositions. But you might get lucky and your opponent might not use that composition that can stomp you into the ground. We'll see. But in any case, again, I'm playing random, so I'm just going to have to kind of play on the fly and see how it goes. I do particularly enjoy Nova and Phoenix. And also Karax, though Karax does tend to get countered pretty heavily. But again, it really just depends on if people know what to use that can hard counter certain commanders, but that's not that important. There's certain things that that you can do at the beginning. Like I like to take a fast gas just because it's hard to punish. All right, we're just loading in here. There we go. So let's go fast assimilator. And the idea is as long as I have a unit out so that I can hold the middle after the first countdown, then that's cool, which is why I go for a fast gas. I'll put up my total kills trophy, you know what I'm saying? So I could rush fast tier 2. That's also something to consider. And then I'll go put my defenses out here near the bunker. Now there's a frontline bunker turret here, and then there's your main base. And you lose if you lose your main base, vice versa. You destroy their cannon in their base. You want to hold this middle. You can see it changes colors. And whatever symbol this mineral is on, that means you're getting an extra +1 resource income. So we're against Teal, who is Protoss of some sorts. He got 3 cannons, which means he is Artanis. So I will go ahead and start just getting with some stalkers for now. And then I'll grab Blink.
Not all battles are won through numbers alone.
And I think what I'm going to want to do against Artanis, it depends, because obviously we're going to have to wait to see what he is. Now, Stalker's just getting a couple early is decent, but we have to see what he's going to choose to do. He may do nothing. Artanis choosing not to do anything to start here. So, Stalkers, again, all around are decent. Now, the fact that Artanis didn't send anything out, to me means that... well, there's 2 Artanises, actually. To me means he's probably going to try to rush to a higher tier. So let's go tier 2. As long as, again, early game, you want to try to hold this middle section, because that means that you have a solid economy advantage. Each of us, all 3 of us, gets +1 income right now, which is super solid. So what I'm going to do is I could get a second gas right away because we're holding the middle, though that's a little preemptive. Basically, if you feel safe, if you're comfortable holding the middle, then you can get faster geysers. This little countdown here basically means not yet generated more minerals than it costs to build. So you want to work on that, I suppose, as time goes on. What I do like with Vorazun is her oracles are quite strong if you use them properly with the stasis wards. But again, I need to get an idea of what Artanis is actually going to do. And then so we have 2 Artanises and Zagara. I'm just guessing it's Artanis. And the fact that neither one has built a single thing, to me means they're likely going to make Tempests. So I think that I'm going to want to just make Void Rays to counter that, because my Void Rays would be cheaper. So let's do that. It's the only thing, again, I can kind of think to do here at the beginning. Phase Reactor is also really good, and so basically Stalker Void Ray would be really strong against Tempests. Also, we have Wraiths coming in, so a Wraith Immortal. Okay, so we have Immortals coming out from green here. My wave is technically this guy, so you primarily want to focus on countering which wave that you are opposed to. But you have to consider, like, okay, who is the guy before me facing? It's green. If my purple friend lets any units leak through his wave, I have to kill those as well. So you really want to think about countering your wave and possibly the wave before yours. Okay, we have Archons. That's not what I expected. So I think what I'm going to want to do is just Stalkers, which are pretty strong. I don't want to spend too much money on Void Rays. We should have no problem with that. I feel very comfortable getting a second gas, which is a little preemptive, but we've held the middle for the first several minutes, so that should be fine. Void Ray should do decent to counter their Immortals. He's getting some Dragoons to counter my Void Rays now, so this is how it goes back and forth. But again, green, he needs to consider countering his own Swan right here, which is he's doing with Dragoons. So those Dragoons also will kill my Void Rays, but that's why I'm going to just focus probably exclusively on Stalkers. And the Stalkers are just really irritating with that the Blink and Phase Reactor, because then they cloak. Again, they're so annoying. Alright, so now they've taken the middle. Our Nova couldn't hold her wave quite completely, but that's also because she had Artanis leaking into her wave as well. So it starts with Swan, and then the enemy waves start leaking. So we'll see if we're able to push this back. And I think the answer will be yes, and I'm probably going to want to transition into just more Void Rays. Void Ray Stalkers should work well here, and eventually we'll throw in some Oracles as well. Okay, Storm is going to be tricky, and what we can do is throw down some Centurions to bait out the Storms. And this should be pretty acceptable. Getting some Oracles because they do really good anti-ground in general, and they can detect, so I'll throw those in the back so that they don't get picked off by Storm too early on. I did help push our wave back, though it looks like our Swan is going to struggle a little bit again, but Swan is a very strong late-game commander for sure. He counters pretty much every other Terran faction. Nova getting Hellbats and Banshees for Zagara is a good choice. Those Banshees, though, can get killed so easily by Scourge. We'll probably see that happening later, or perhaps the Zagara just won't build them, which would also work pretty well. So I've got some Oracles out, and I'm going to try to throw down the Stasis Ward as well. Yeah, so he's going exclusively Archons. And I guess it doesn't hurt to throw this down. It might catch out one of the enemies on their way out to us. So yes, he has Immortals. This is probably why I'm going to want to keep transitioning into more air-focused compositions. His Immortals just blast through me. But that's because I'm pushing through my own wave. Again, even though the wave after mine, which is green, kills my Stalkers, that's fine. As long as I'm keeping positive pressure on my own wave, I'm comfortable with that. I don't want to have to be really thinking too hard about having to deal with all the other stuff. Now, the Void Rays with their range, though, is super solid even against my own wave, so I will get some more of those. I think just the Void Ray Oracle Stalker composition works well, and then you can move into Corsairs and Dark Archons later if you start seeing large masses of enemy units. Banshees are just excellent, but Zagara hard counters really anything in the air with Scourge, because Direct Strike is not necessarily a game about what is best, per se. It's really more about being able to efficiently counter your enemy. So yeah, you can smash through your enemy, but if you spent more money to do it, it may not pay off in the long run. Okay, so once again, we're still holding the middle very solidly. It would be very greedy of me to get another Assimilator. I think it's a little too early for that. So let's just keep pumping out Void Rays. And part of the issue is Zagara's going to be able to wipe out these Void Rays quite easily with Scourge, which is when we're going to have to transition into Corsairs. Corsairs with the splash damage can kill those Scourge before they get on top of the Void Rays. But again, I'm more focused right now on my own wave. I don't want to have to really deal with thinking about the other two just yet, unless they're leaking heavily into my wave, at which point it looks like the Dragoons will, but that's what the Void Rays are for, etc., etc. So, I suppose to an extent I am overthinking a lot of the mechanics of Direct Strike, but that's okay, it's fun. Oracles are going to get feedbacked by Archons, so that's why I'm not going to build too many of those. Let's just build another wave of Stalkers, but let's put them slightly further back. We'll put them slightly further back. And as you can see, again, those Immortals are just going to absolutely crush my units. The Hellbat's going to do very well by Swan. In fact, he could probably just use a bunch more of those. So I do need to start considering countering these Immortals a bit more, but again, it's the wave after mine, which means I'm pushing through my wave properly and efficiently, so I'm less concerned about that. It really just depends on how hard they start spilling into my zone after this. both of my teammates are having pretty severe leaks, so I need to consider overpowering green. It's just a shame because green's is going these hard Dragoons Immortals. So now I have leftovers from both waves before me. So I've got Immortal Archons. So as you can see, because I had to deal with the wave before mine, I was softened up. And it's hard to say as Vorazun what best counters are Tannis. What I could do is probably make a lot of Centurions, but those get countered by Archons because they take heavy splash damage and they're biological. So Swan, unfortunately, is going to have just a lot of trouble with these Immortals. We'll see what my teammates are going to transition into to help us. But it's not looking good. I think what Nova would really need is probably one Liberator to kill the incoming Scourge to keep those Banshees alive. It's just that amount of Scourge is just going to clean him up. Luckily, the Scourge go for the wave before his, keeping the Banshees alive. But I think Nova should probably transition out of Banshees and go for tanks. But I'm going to basically backseat gaming my allies here, unfortunately. Okay, so this works. Again, my ally was able to push forward just a little bit, which ate some of the storms, so that I was able to get through that wave pretty easily. It's really just deciding what to do next. I could make Corsairs to preempt the fact that Scourge might start leaking into my wave, or I can get upgrades, or I can get another refinery. I'd say it's about that time, even though we're not necessarily holding the middle directly. And Swan is able to push through his wave for the most part, and also Nova is still in there because they have no detection. Swan hard counters Zagara with just a ton of Irradiates as well. Those Scourge are starting to become overwhelming, but both my teammates are able to push it back quite easily. I got my next Assimilator. And I think maybe we start considering some upgrades because we do have a very nice and pretty formation right now. So let's upgrade these Void Rays.
Your forces grow more powerful.
And every little bit of damage that my teammates can do makes my wave that much easier. Though obviously I'm going to struggle against light green because of the huge amount of Immortals. At this rate, I'm leaning towards just making more Void Rays because it's working really well, and the only thing that's gonna heavily counter it is Zagara Scourge, which I can make Corsairs for, but only if her wave starts leaking onto mine, which it's not going to. This amount of Dragoons is tricky. I could also make Centurions to stun the Immortals as well. It would be more cost effective to do that, so I'm leaning towards making just a ton of Centurions. Just an absolute ton, and we put them kind of in the back here. We put them slightly in the back so that they don't rush in and get killed in the initial wave. We want to try to conserve them a little bit so that they can come in against the light green wave as it starts stacking up on us. Okay, so Dragoons I think just outright will beat us. And then once again, it's just sort of a back and forth on which waves tend to stack here. So that's a little tricky. Corsairs could be good here too. I think instead we're going to go for those Centurions. I just absolutely get obliterated on my wave there. We were a little more stacked up than I would have liked to be. Okay, and again, let's just get a ton of them. I mean, I can reposition some so that they're not as close together, and just get two rows of them. Okay, permanently cloaking the Oracle is not necessary right now, but we're going to want that later as we get more Corsairs. We inevitably will get Corsairs, I guarantee it. Okay, we got both upgrades there. Okay, well, and see, so we're dealing with overflow here again. Centurions are going to go in there and throw down some healthy stuns, which keeps the Dragoons off the Void Rays. Now, unfortunately, everything else is dead. But it did allow my Void Rays to charge up, but the Guardian Shell on the Archons is tough. My Void Rays are decently spread out, and we actually did a lot better against that wave than I expected, so I do think that Centurions are the right choice. We want to get these upgraded as well, but more is better. More is always better. We still have some Stalkers alive. Those tend to leak into other waves because they're squirrely and they hop around. And see, now Nova's dealing with the overflow from Swan's wave, which is dealing with the overflow from my wave. So you can see how it's just a perpetual leak as time goes on.
You have not enough minerals. Put your harvesters to work.
So that's why, oddly enough, I think Mass Centurions is going to do decent work here, because you can see my Void Rays are going to obliterate the Hunter Killers and the Dragoons if I have something in the front to allow them to deal the damage, which is going to be Centurions, surprisingly enough. Sometimes that's what you got to do. And again, I want to reiterate, more is better. You know, some people will rush upgrades. That might work if you're Tychus, though probably not. I think you're probably going to be more concerned with just having an excess of units, or, you know, just more. Even though you might not have more units than your opponents, if you're building an efficient counter, then you'll still win your wave. Okay, let's get one more before our timer ticks down. Got a nice little Centurion formation. They are slowly pushing through, and that amount of Scourge is becoming concerning. My teammates are eating most of the Scourge. Unfortunately, the Nova wave is just getting wiped by Zagara, which is quite challenging for me. And these Dragoons are making it 2 extra waves through. So you can see that the Archons are blowing their Storm on the Centurions, which allows my Void Rays to start charging up. So I think I'm doing better than I expected to. I'm going to flesh out this row of Centurions and then go back to Void Rays, because they're my primary damage. I don't think I played this one super well. The other thing I could do is transition into Dark Archons, because they are clumping up a lot of their stuff. Somehow our bunker is still alive. I suspect this might be the time it goes down, but I really couldn't say. Hollow Decoys from Nova is super solid against Zagara. But again, there's a huge stack here, and that's a major, major challenge. On one hand, I need more Void Rays. On the other, I need to make sure that none of these Scourge get to me. So I will build 2 Corsairs and then cloak them and get Disruption Web, which I'm not thrilled about. But as you can see, well, I'm pushing back the leak, which in the grand scheme is not the hardest thing to do. It's just then taking care of the incoming Artanis wave is really, really, really rough. So I might need to transition into Dark Archons.
Research complete. No.
Okay, so we've got Disruption Web out, which could make a difference. It's really hard to say. My units can attack under Disruption Web, and theirs can't. So if that could stop it won't stop the Dark Archons from storming. But every little bit. And then I'm going to start adding more Void Rays to the back. I'm not going to be able to place it before the timer goes down there, so let's just start upgrading our Stalkers more. They've held the mid for a really long time and have a huge economic advantage, so maybe I was a little preemptive in... This is the best we've done against Leak Wave prior to this, so we move in. Got to trigger these Guardian Shells as fast as possible. Disruption Web's going down. And there you go. If we don't have to deal with as much of a leaked wave, then we'll be able to push through. And it's going to be the same for my allies, too. And now there's overflow. So I'm going to just start adding more Void Rays. And eventually, we definitely want to move into these Dark Archons. But right now, I don't think we can afford to risk really any other different composition. So I'm just going to stick with this. These Oracles, I'm just going to move to the very far back. What I could do is start throwing down Stasis Wards. If you're willing to be diligent with putting down your Stasis Wards, that could make a big, big difference. Okay, my stuff just spawned, which means I'm just going to go ahead and grab another upgrade instead. And then let's keep an eye out, and perhaps I'm gonna use these Oracles to actually put down some of these Stasis Wards instead. And see, just like that, we're starting to see some clumpage of our units, which is excellent. And we just need to put down these. We need to put down these Stasis Wards. If we can stun groups of Artanis' units, we're in great shape. And we have to change the stasis calibration so that we can attack when things are locked down. Okay, we're seeing some Reavers from light green.
Coordinating attack.
Okay, and let's just flesh out this Void Ray composition. And we're starting to stack. We might get their turret, probably not, though. And, you know, for every Scourge that I can eat, that's one less that Nova has to eat, which makes those which is going to make those Banshees so much more profitable for her. Because if the Banshees don't get killed by Scourge, they're going to clean up Zagara very quickly. All right, now we're seeing Phoenix. I have enough ground units that lift shouldn't be a particular problem for me. Once I finish this last Void Ray, I'm going to start stacking up more Corsairs. And Artanis is struggling against the amount of Centurions as well. This is working, and we are surviving our wave with surviving Stalkers and Void Rays. And then we're softening up the next wave for Swan, who admittedly is going to struggle against Reavers. Which, I mean, there's nothing I can do about that. But the Void Rays are here to stay. And this is why I transition back to them. Sometimes you don't know if it's going to work, though, until it's too late. That's just a thing that happens. Okay, and like I said, I'm going to start stacking more Corsairs. The Disruption Web, at the very least, will help. It'll ensure that Phoenix don't do anything to us, and it will help us counter Zagara better and better. Because it'll force those Hunter-Killers to move with the Disruption Web. I'm surprised neither cannon has gone down at this point. And every little bit of extra damage that Nova can do to the Artanis wave before I get there, the happier I am. The Phoenix are gonna distract my Void Rays, but to an extent they might just allow my Void Rays to charge up before they start attacking the armored units, which should help them push through. Let's see if we can get... Oh, did it get canceled? What? Why did that get canceled? Oh, it was probably destroyed en route. Okay, Swan's doing really good work now. The Reavers are a little tricky for him, but with some Stalkers still in there, I can kind of bait the Scarab shots away instead. I am going to get my last Geyser now, because this is you know, becoming quite lengthy. I should probably get the remainder of my upgrades, though again, more is better. I'd rather just make sure that I've got these Corsairs out to counter the rest of the Phoenix. If we want to get to +3, we have to get tier 3, which is rough. Vorazun is fun to play, but can be very tricky, just because she can be countered pretty easily if you don't use her kit effectively.
You cannot forfeit that location.
Trying to get these stasis wards set up every little bit, and now we can attack stuff that's stasis warded as well. So eventually we might want to get more. Okay, cannon goes down. Enjoy my total losses trophy. And so, because my Corsairs aren't going to be able to stay alive this long, so the Scourges are going to clean this up. There's really nothing we can do about that, but every little bit of damage we can do before that point is great. And I think a common mistake some people make is, rather than trying to counter their wave explicitly right at the beginning, they try to counter every wave. And realistically, you really need to be focused on yours and maybe what spills into yours from the prior. And that's the main jam, I'd say. We're making excellent progress here. I'm going to flesh out this line of Corsairs, and then I'm going to finish my upgrades. And Platinum level, or Diamond level upgrades should be available here pretty soon. Okay, so let's turn this on. What I like is you can set your upgrades to autocast. Okay, he's getting Tempests now. You can set your upgrades to autocast, and once you have enough money, it'll just start right away. Unlocks game-ending upgrades. Yeah, sure. It's actually a pretty long game for the first one of the day that I'm playing. This is quite long. Every little bit that we can stay in here and help Swan, I'm happy about. Again, the issue is the Zagara wave after that we can't really do anything about. I have but one life to give. Here, let's get more Void Rays because they're working.
You have not enough
Prismatic core online.
Let's go ahead and queue up our air weapons level 3. We're winning our waves for the most part with the help of our allies. I don't want to take credit for that. I mean, we had a clear swing where this is working really well. We're able to kill their Phoenix almost no problem, which allows my Void Rays to just wreak havoc on the ground. And we actually have leftover Centurions as well, which stun the Immortals. Alright, so there's two things we could do here. I could finish up my air upgrades, or we can make sure that we can get Tier 4 when it's available. Because it costs $250 just to unlock the next level of upgrades, and then $250 more to get the first level of upgrades after that. So let's just wait for it. Again, the fact that we're leaking Void Rays, not many, but we're leaking some upgrades, or some Void Rays into each wave, means that I don't think I need to add units at this moment. So let's get our diamond level upgrades. Now, this doesn't do anything for us immediately. Then you have to get the strike weaponry, which increases your attack speed by 5%, which something like Void Rays, which is doing a constant tick of damage, is pretty significant.
Make use of their surge in potential.
All right, everything is clumped up here, and it terrifies me. And again, because my units are doing really well, I'm gonna flesh out my upgrades. I also have had access to Black Hole, well, sort of recently. Because you only get that with T3. So we clump them up. That might have been better to say for Zagara. It's kind of hard to say. This allows Swan to clump a little bit harder, and we're pushing back across their middle line here. So ground upgrades, again, it's going to affect my Centurions, and they're already surviving long enough. I think I would rather just have more Voids. I mean, I want to get to 333, don't get me wrong, but I think it would be more valuable to just simply have more Void Rays and or Corsairs. This is working, and what I can do also is I have to get back to microing my Oracles to put down some Stasis Wards, because they're dying real fast anyway. I could just get more Oracles, and then I'll be able to lay down those Stasis Wards. So they do have 2 Artanuses, which means they can lay down. If even just one of them can finish, then I'm happy. And we put these down for the next wave. Our Corsairs are running in there, and they might kill the Tempest, and I think they will. There we go, just like that, and then we're pushing through the next wave. And we've got some Stasis Wards in the back that are stunning some of the Immortals. That's the thing with Vorazun is you have to micro your Oracles to put down Stasis Wards. They don't lay down the Stasis Traps any other way. You have to do it yourself. Not like it's a particularly challenging task, but you do have to do it yourself. If we do ever have to go one-on-one with the Zagara wave, our Corsairs can kill the Scourge. Nova's getting through the Zagara wave. It's kind of hard to see where exactly we're getting pushed back. I'm going to leave the strike weaponry on autocast so that when it becomes available, we just get that extra 5%. This is actually a pretty nutty...
It is done.
Lock B.
This is actually a pretty nutty game. It's pretty long. Even if I could stun one unit with the Stasis Trap, it's worth it, because those Oracles aren't really killing anything anymore. Well, maybe they will! I was going to say, they do decent damage. You can see the Disruption Web is actually coming in quite handy. I might want to auto-cast the Disruption Web as well, because I could lay it down back here instead. Okay. We got a pretty good looking formation here. Let's keep it up.
You have not enough
Prismatic core online.
Ground armor, that's where you just got to question, is it worth it? I bet it... Wow, okay, Nova hasn't really been upgrading either. She's got Marines. I think she's been upgrading the... Oh, the Holo Decoys. Are those affected by upgrades, I wonder? Maybe they're not. There's not much Nova can do against this amount of Phoenix except Raid Liberators, which I think it might be too late for her to transition into. The Raid Liberators might protect her from... They might protect her from Scourge. Kind of hard to say. Okay, well, they're killing the stasis traps. The best thing to do with the stasis traps is to put them down in the middle of a fight because the enemy's less likely to target them. But it's all right. Honestly, the last thing that I might do is just more Centurions. It really depends on how many Banelings Zagara has, but very rarely am I having to deal with Zagara Banelings anyway, so... I can't believe this is still going. This is, you know, for the start of the day. Those aberrations are so good. They spawn Banelings when they die. Yeah, so you see the rocket pods from the Banshees going down and absolutely murdering those hunter killers. Queen of late game, so she may be able to pull this out. I think their Zagara wave is the one wave that's really holding them together. I'm just going to save my money and get Strike Weaponry level 2. And maybe that'll finish in time. There we go. So I guess that's giving us some sort of weapon speed bonus. Alright, and we're still handily winning our own wave. So, with that in mind, I should consider what I need to start countering the wave that's killing us. Which, honestly, it's kind of hard to identify. Because more Centurions here would not work. I mean, Dark Archons are never a bad choice to transition into. The Void Rays are winning for us, so I don't think we should complicate matters. I don't think we should complicate things. I'll get one last row in the back of,
Warp field inaccessible. That location is invalid.
I'll get one more warp in the back. I'm gonna put these oracles together so that I can lay down the stasis traps more easily, because I've been trying to select them all at the beginning. Alright. Ah, this one's offset a little bit. It bothers me.
Upgrade complete.
Okay, let's upgrade this ground armor. Certainly couldn't hurt. Seeing like we want to put our stasis traps here. This actually is perfect, and I don't know why I didn't think to do that earlier. You could see how much stuff got stunned there. That's just going to help us obliterate our wave that much faster. The disruption web forces them to move through it and clump up, and then you lay down the stasis trap right in the middle of it. It's absolutely killer. And I'm going to put these up now to see if maybe we can even just have one or two on the ground. Okay, the Artanis wave that we're against is getting absolutely slaughtered because of that. So let's guess what? Make more Void Rays in the back. And any extra thing that we can do to help Swan, and then Swan gets cleaned up by Zagara, and then the cycle continues. That's the challenge of it. If I could have Corsairs survive until the last wave to kill those Scourge, it's just, yeah, Zagara just absolutely smashes through Swan. And Nova does decently to come back and crush her own wave as well. Again, it's kind of hard to see how this is going to swing. It's probably going to end very quickly. This is an exciting first match, though, let me tell you. I'm definitely going to get Dark Archons after this. It's hard to say, though, if that's a worthwhile transition or not. So, see, they're going to come in here and clump up right in the middle, and this is where we put down our stasis wards. And we're actually killing them faster than we can even set up the stasis wards. But regardless, it was a good effort. And if we're ever getting pushed back again, then we just do that more.
You have not enough minerals.
Okay, and then those three are set up. yeah, it's looking good. Can I get another one? And we're 333 fully now. How long on this? About 2 minutes. Kind of hard to tell how long it's going to take us to get up to 500, but I want to anticipate that because the first person to get that on either team might be enough to push waves back and forth. We're going to start having major frame dips. Major frame dips. So, we'll look forward to that. This has been like a 35-minute game of Direct Strike. That does not happen that often. Your boy's getting a lot of XP, though, you know what I'm saying? It's the most important thing. We have an unspent point. Oh, hey, this was a nice Vorazun showcase, that's for sure. You know what? It's going to be one video. It's going to be one game of Direct Strike today. I was going to, again, have more, but I wanted to do more in one video, but that just can't happen, unfortunately. So I think that's pretty much our entire back line. It's genuinely challenging for me to decide what to do differently here. Like what I could do to help put my allies push through. These Tempests are going to start causing problems, maybe. I mean, I have enough Void Rays. Those Tempests are very resource inefficient against what I have. I think a mix of Dragoons and Phoenixes would work pretty well. I think the biggest issue, again, is the Zagara Wave, and the problem is the only thing of mine that lasts to the Zagara Wave are the Void Rays. I can't keep Corsairs alive long enough to have them participate in pushing back those Scourge. So I'm thinking, actually, first off, let's get Strike Weaponry. And then I'm going to go Dark Archons. I think that might be the best choice. Alternatively, we can just get way more Stalkers. But, I don't know. Against Zagara, it's really hard to say. I could just flesh it out. I just could just flesh this out with even more Void Rays in the front. I mean, Dark Archons are typically good. The issue is, would putting them in here help?
Upgrade complete. Make use of this.
And I kind of think they would just die to the Tempests and the Reavers after that. This Artanis could probably break the stalemate if he made Archons. If this Artanis made Archons, he might be able to clean up my Void Rays. You could see he's pushing me back, though. So here we go.
Prismatic core online.
This green Artanis is getting a little frightening. His stuff's starting to stay alive. They're starting to stack. Yeah, Swan's got a lot of stuff, but Zagara just utterly crashes through it. And I think maybe if he went only Thors, like only Thors, would probably work best against Zagara at this point. Zagara is not technically his wave though, so I'm just gonna fill in my entire airspace with Void Rays, unless I see that second Artanis also making Archons. In fact, we're gonna do another row of Corsairs after this as well. We're still winning our wave and able to push through the second wave, but yeah, I think now we're gonna start transitioning more into Corsairs. How long on Strike Weaponry? Just over 3 minutes. What an action-packed
You have not enough minerals.
first Direct Strike showcase from Jay Barrino. I'm not feeling good about this. I feel like in the long run we're going to lose, but this was an exciting and long match regardless. See, this is Swan's actual wave, and he's doing fine, though at the same time I clear about half of it before he gets there, so... I think the only reason that we have been able to keep the push on is because we are able to...
Your mineral reserves are insufficient.
I'm going to be able to get this out in time, yes. Is because we're able to stack as well as we have been. But if they can stop the stack at any point, we're going to struggle. This is a problem, because the Scourge are going to pop out of this. Our Corsairs can deal with it. So where are my Oracles in there? We got to start doing the Oracle thing.
Let us begin.
We do have an interesting concave here, where we can put down the...
You cannot walk at that location.
Okay, and... Again, I'm killing my own waves so quickly, as much as I want to use the Oracles to do the stasis traps, it doesn't matter. Like, I don't even need to do that. It's more the wave after that I need to start focusing on now. It's interesting that he's going Tempest, because again, those are countered so easily by Void Rays, but we're still losing, unfortunately. EMP some of those Archons, yeah. If I don't have to deal even with that wave, then we'll be in better shape. Whew, that is just rough. I'm gonna go Corsairs now.
You have not enough minerals.
We are gonna fill the entirety of the airspace here with Corsairs and Void Rays. At which point, I don't know what else to do besides maybe more Stalkers. A lot of what they're doing is handled by Stalkers. I mean, the Ghost with triple tap will still be really good. Yeah, that EMP is going to be solid, I think. Rather than placing units, I really should be paying attention to my wave, especially... This is why we need more Corsairs. If we can kill those Phoenix faster, that's it. I mean, the faster we kill the Phoenix, the better off we're going to be. We have enough Void Rays. I think I'm going to get 2 more rows of Corsairs. So that's the thing. If you have anything that you can possibly micro in your wave, don't place units. The only time placing units matters is right when your timer's ticking down. So, like, until this gets to 5 seconds or so, I don't necessarily need to place anything. That also helps make sure that you're just going to spend your money on what you absolutely need. There we go. That's perfect. So we got rid of the back line of Dragoons, so as long as Swan can push through the Reavers... I think this light green is keeping them alive long enough for Zagar to start flooding in, and that's where the difference is really made. But at the same, if we get an absolute, like a horrific number of Corsairs and keep them alive through Zagara, we might be in even better shape. This is 30 seconds, which let's save for the next level of strike weaponry. I don't even know how many levels that goes up. It might just be near infinite. I mean, he probably only has a certain number of icons for it, but I've never seen it. This is probably one of the longest Direct Strike games I've ever played. So it's kind of silly that this is the one that I happened to record. Yeah, let's save our money and get strike weaponry. We should have just about 500 at the time. One of my teammates is missing their last... Both of my teammates are missing their last refinery. That could make a difference. Okay, excellent. Strike weaponry going down. Not really worth it at this point, yeah. If they would have gotten them earlier, then yes, but... The thing is, at this point, it's really just coming down to individual units. Like, we have a seeming advantage, and just the tiniest little bit could be enough to help us stack. See, we still have Corsairs alive now. If we just get enough of them, they'll survive through the entirety of the whole wave. And then you only need a couple, like 2. You only need like 2 in order to survive into the Zagara wave to kill a bunch of the Scourge. This might be the stack that we need. I mean, I think that the reason we're never it's hard to break a stalemate is Swan's build isn't built for Zagara. Zagara is just in terms of late game. Zagara is just the queen of late game. So unless you're geared specifically to deal with her, she's gonna wreck you. Oh, this might be it. GG. I didn't realize that we were that close to the Nexus. That was probably maybe that strike weaponry that helped us get through. What a time to be alive. That was a good one. Let's check our damage. Oh, yeah. Bringing it home. We were the highest in the whole match. Oh, look at all that XP. That's what I'm talking about. Give me that direct strike XP. I will hit the victory button. Well, thanks, everyone, for joining me. This was one of the longest... This was possibly the longest direct strike game I've ever played. So, the thing about direct strike is they're typically digestible in terms of how long the matches are. So I was like, oh, I'll play like 2 or 3. They'll be 15 minutes. You can see some of the different commanders, and it doesn't get boring. The problem is when they get this long, I imagine that it gets mildly boring to watch, though it's hard to say. I do find a satisfaction in watching Direct Strike, just watching these armies clash into each other and seeing how each player reacts. But it doesn't require much mechanical skill, it's just strategizing properly around your wave and dealing with possible leaks from the other folks as well. Alright, well, thanks everyone for watching. Let me know your thoughts on seeing more Direct Strike, and if you're interested. Obviously, they won't all be this long, but this one was pretty cool. All right, see you next time. Bye now.